The top four things retirees are concerned about in 2025. Well, guess what? There's probably a lot more than four, but these seem to be really trending in social media searches. So let's try to break them down. Number one, the magic number. Are you nuts? Come on. There is no magic number. The Bible's very clear about it. You can't build your walls high enough to protect from everything. Obviously, the more you've saved for retirement should be the better, right? That kind of makes sense. But what's this magic number that you have to be able to retire in 2025 or 6 or 7? Maybe you're 2 or 3 years away and you're still saving for retirement and you have to hit this number. I've been doing this a long time, and let me be very clear. It's not about a number. I remember a bank, I think it was called ING, and they used to have these people carrying signs walking in the commercials. What's your number? What's your number? They had little things pointing at their signs, and they had 1 million, 2 million, all these different numbers. It doesn't work that way. Imagine this. There's a married couple. They were both very successful. Maybe the wife made more than the husband in this example, but combined, let's say they saved $4 million. Well, that's a big number. They're going to be great in retirement, right? Not so fast. Most likely, if they're getting ready to retire now, they might be a boomer, and nothing wrong with that. That's great. The largest sector ever retiring is the boomers. But guess what? They probably saved 80 or 90% of that money in a special type of account. A retirement account, that plethora of code numbers, the alphabet soup of retirement accounts, 401s, 403s, TSPs, all the different account types. But here's what they all have in common. Most likely, they've never paid taxes on 80 or 90% of that money. It means they took the drug that came out in 1978 Revenue Act. It came out a couple years later called the 401. They invested heavily in it, and now they're retiring as multimillionaires. But they have to go pay tax on all that money. So then let's move on to the fact that this particular couple was very successful. They both made really good money. They saved hard. However, they have a high expectation because, after all, they're multimillionaires. And let's say they're retiring with this, quote, $4 million in IRAs, 401s. They've never paid tax on it. And because they were both making about $300,000 apiece, $600,000 gross income, and they saved, and then they spent, I don't know, after taxes, let's call it $300,000 a year, $325,000. They're retiring with some debt on their current big $2 million home. They got a place down in the beach. Maybe they owe $1 million on it, but they're fine because they're multimillionaires. And now they're looking for a spending plan, a budget, an income plan, let's call it, a spending plan, to spend what they were making, meaning they want to spend what they were spending while they were working, $250,000, $300,000 a year. Well, let me tell you something. It's going to take a pretty special firm to be able to turn $4 million of untaxed money into $300,000 after taxes, adjusted for inflation, after taxation, and make that plan not run out of money at 90, 95 years old. See where I'm going with this? Where you could have someone that only saved $500,000, let's say, for retirement, but they got their home paid for, the cars are paid for, and they're just concerned on whether or not they can even retire. And they don't have an expectation of spending a high amount of money in retirement, and they might be much more successful in retirement. So it's not about a number. Get this idea out of your head that it's about a number, it's about income and how much income your plan can generate for the rest of your lives. Another one that people are really concerned about is policy and legislation changes. Let me tell you, it's a crazy world right now. And where I really want to think about this is there is opportunities to save more. So we've got enhanced catch-up contributions. A lot of people are talking about this because they've now hit this age of, let's say, 60, and they could put $10,000 a year more than they could before. Things like this. Well, that's great, but should they? What? You're telling people not to save? No, that's not what I said at all. But we need to look at where a 55-year-old, a 60-year-old has already saved. Let's say they're like the example I gave you a few minutes ago, where they've saved 80 or 90% of their money already in a 401 or a 403. Maybe it's time to look at their taxes and say, hey, we need to save some money in a Roth 401 that your company now offers. Or maybe we know you're a good saver, and if we increased your take-home pay by not putting as much in the 401, you would actually take that money and start saving it in a brokerage account, an after-tax account, or maybe your income allows you, it's not so high that you can't invest in a Roth on your own. These are all decisions that have to be made because policy and legislation changes can change things in the future. But one thing that's not going to change is taxes. Taxes are going to go up. When I say they're not going to change, they're going to be part of your life until you pass away. That's what I mean by not changing. What will change is how much you have to pay in them. And now's a great time to do advanced tax planning and see how much of your hard-earned dollars can be shifted from a 401 to a Roth 401. It's one of the things we help people do. It's very important. Now, this one is really big right now. A lot of people are concerned about trying to retire before age 65 when they can accept and get on Medicare. A lot of people are trying to retire younger, or they're retiring and they're going to get Medicare, but they're worried about things like long-term care, wellness risk, longevity risk. And that's one of the biggest things that most planners have never taken into account. This idea of living too long. Well, that's not a bad thing if you're healthy, but you're going to need a plan that keeps up. And we find that people don't even have a plan, let alone one that's adjusted for inflation and runs all the way to age 90 or 95, because there's a high likelihood that one of the two people in the relationship, in a common typical relationship, will get to age 90 or 95. So we have to take a look at that. We have to take a look at the medical inflation, which is nowhere near the 2.9 they're telling us on TV. It's like 12 to 15%. Are you kidding me? Does your current plan factor in medical inflation? Do you understand how to maximize how much Medicare costs you at age 65? Is your plan been optimized for advanced tax planning so that you can get your Medicare premiums down to the least amount possible? It's one of the things we do at Alloy Wealth. Now, the other part that is really trending is smarter investments. So when you think about smarter investments, I hear this a lot. Mark, I want some of those safer investments. Which one of those? Let's be very clear. All investments have one thing in common: risk. You need a retirement plan that takes everything into account. What I mean by that is you need risk in your retirement plan because Wall Street is how we grow our money and maximize the returns. So we're going to need a bucket of money for long-term growth that we don't spend on a daily basis. We're also going to need income that just shows up every month that covers our basic necessities: food, gas, oil, water, shocks, brakes, all the stuff we have to do in life. Then we need that midterm money that maybe has growth without as much risk. And all those have to be put together in a plan. And when I talk about diversifying that plan, it has to be diversified, including your stocks and tax diversification between taxable and non-taxable accounts. There's a lot trending right now, and it all comes down to getting a proper retirement plan. But guess what? It can be done with the right planning firm, a holistic planning firm that specializes using only fiduciary advisors and certified financial planners. Hey, hit that like and subscribe button so I can get more content just like this out to you.